Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce someone who's not only helped make Chadron State College a better place, but a person who has had a positive impact on countless communities by educating the aspiring young teachers who pass through our halls. Dr. Clark Gardner has taught a majority of the courses offered by Chadron State's Education Department through the years and served as chairman of the department from 1994 through 2002. During his time at Chadron State, he has become known for being gentle and encouraging, but demanding quality from his students. Dr. Gardner has become known far and wide for his research about rural education. Through his valuable research, he's become an advocate for the retention and advancement of schools in rural America. His interest in rural education has led him to an active membership in the National Rural Education Association. He also was the founder and first director of the Panhandle Center for Rural and Small School Education, which is now named the High Plains Center for Rural and Small School Education. Dr. Gardner is retiring this year, but his legacy for helping to educate our future teachers will not soon be forgotten. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me give a warm welcome to Dr. Clark Gardner.
Thank you, Dr. Park. Well, this is rather a historic day for several of us, and I'd certainly like to thank all the parents, the families, the friends, and the faculty, everyone for joining us for this occasion, and especially the 2009 graduate students. I pondered quite a while as to what kind of message I should bring tonight. And I kept thinking, well, what do these graduates have that might be in common? And so whether your degree is in business, counseling, education, or organizational management, you will be asked to be a leader in your organization. Therefore, I'd like to share with you some leadership skills with the help of Santa Claus. The concepts are from the book, The Leadership Concepts are the Leadership Secrets of Santa Claus. Jack Frost and Santa were visiting one fine afternoon at the North Pole. Jack said, "I'm really having a time with global warming. I've really tried to focus on stopping global warming, but I haven't really convinced anyone of the importance." Santa thought for a while and said, "You certainly have a lofty vision. I'm not sure that we have a vision or a mission at the workshop." So when Santa returned to the workshop, he gathered the elves and reindeer and asked them to help him determine the vision or mission at the North Pole. After several days of sharing, they finally decided that their mission was making spirits bright by building and delivering high-quality toys. After the vision was developed, Santa discussed with the elves their respective jobs, or how their respective jobs specifically linked with and contributed to the accomplishment of the mission. Second, he kept the mission in front of folks by posting it on walls, discussing it at staff meetings, including it in internal correspondence, and through a host of other activities that helped ensure it stayed the central focus point. Last, Santa made it a core component of the decision-making and work planning process. If the action did not support the mission, either directly or indirectly, they did not do it. Speaking of high-quality toys, the workshop was really good at producing little red wagons on the production line. But now Santa was getting requests for video games. Certainly matched the vision of delivering high-quality toys. Now Santa had to convince the elves to make the change. First, he complimented the elves on their success in the production of little red wagons. Then he explained why it was necessary to change by showing them the data and evidence concerning why the change needed to be made. Then he discussed with the elves the benefits to be gained, which included making spirits bright. Then he asked the elves for their commitment to the change, including new training for them and to be patient while the change was being implemented. After seeing how the change would fit their mission, all the elves accepted the change. Other changes have occurred at the North Pole that may not have affected everyone at first. One year, Santa received the following letter. Dear Santa, this year I only want one thing, a leader who cares as much about me as the work I'm doing. It's hard to be committed when there's no reciprocation. Santa found that he had to make changes in his leadership style to help the elves and reindeer. Here's a list of the changes he had to make. 1, be accessible to his employees. 2, be considerate of the staff member needs. 3, provide employees with the training, tools, and the resources required for success. Keep employees in on the what's happening information. Help team members maintain an appropriate balance between their professional and personal lives. Demonstrate respect for employees' times and talent, as well as respect them as individuals. Solicit and listen to staff member ideas and concerns. And finally, fairly distribute the work and the workload. Santa realized that one of his toughest tasks, though, was to hire good employees. One year in November, his head reindeer, Blitzen, decided to retire and move to Florida. I can relate to that. Santa had to find a replacement fast. Fortunately, he could not spend time to recruit like he should have. He hired Misfit, the least famous reindeer of all. He soon learned from trial runs with the sleigh that the other reindeer did not want to follow Misfit, and the sleigh always went to the right, since Misfit would not fully share. He had to let Misfit go. That's why you haven't heard of him. Santa then decided to look within the staff to find the lead reindeer. Donner had always been a good puller. He was strong, fast, and dependable. He more than pulled his weight, and as it says in the book, he weighed a ton. He was pro as a puller, but as a leader, Donner was in over his head. The rest of the reindeer just could not follow his lead. And there stood Rudolph. Rudolph was a decent puller, but he wasn't the strongest and the fastest. In fact, when he first joined the team, some of the other reindeer laughed, called him names, and excluded him from their games. But that changed as the reindeer and Santa began to notice that there was something special about Rudolph. He seemed to have a knack for getting things done with others, a nose for leadership. So Rudolph got his shot, and the rest is history. The moral is to take your time to hire and promote the right ones for the right reasons. Along with changes in production and staff, sometimes new equipment may be necessary. Santa thought that the facility at the North Pole needed a facelift. He gathered the elves and asked them to design a new factory to make the toys. He gave them blocks to imagine the design, and he left for a while to let the elves work on their plans. When he came back, he noticed that one of the elves, Virginia, had not done much with her blocks. He gave the elves a bit more time, came back a little later. When he looked again at Virginia's blocks, he was really surprised. She had made 6 pillars. He asked if she needed more time. But she responded, "No, I'm done." Santa said, "Why are there no walls or ceilings?" The explanation she offered is where you'll find the lesson for leaders everywhere. She said, "Well, Santa, It seems to me that what makes a wonderful workshop is not the walls and the ceilings, but what happens inside those walls and under those ceilings. It's not how a workshop stands, but what it stands for that makes it special. These 6 columns you see are pillars, and they represent values. The values of respect, integrity, honesty, dependability, responsibility, and teamwork. Maybe for some folks they're just words, but for me, they're blueprints to follow. And that's where leadership comes in. Making sure that everyone knows what values are important, and then helping everyone turn those good beliefs into everyday behaviors is how leaders create a great workplace. Santa grinned, and with a twinkle in his eye responded, "Yes, Virginia, that is a wonderful workshop." One year, Santa learned another valuable lesson. He decided that with the increase in the number of toys that needed to be made, he would find new assembly line equipment. He had worked on the assembly line himself when there was not as many toys to be made, so he knew what was needed for the equipment. In fact, he researched what machinery was needed, and then he ordered the equipment, had it installed in the workshop. Suddenly one day, he was sitting at his desk. There arose such a clatter that he sprang from his desk to see what was the matter. As he entered the workshop, he found that the new equipment had failed. The elves informed him that if he would have asked them, they could have told him where the flaws in the new equipment were. The elves eventually fixed the problem. But Santa found that he had to involve the elves before he made decisions. When Santa first arrived at the North Pole, everything was not so ho, ho, ho. If one of the elves or reindeer made a mistake, Santa would give them a good tongue lashing. He soon found out that this style of leadership was not making spirits bright. He soon learned that he had to share the milk and cookies. He began to thank the elves and the reindeer when they had assisted in making spirits bright. He would send them a card, print a certificate, or talk to them personally about how they had contributed to the mission at the North Pole. He was amazed at how spirits were raised. But maybe there was one more thing that could be done. Santa asked if any of the elves or reindeer had thanked their fellow workers. The elves and reindeer all said, "That's your job." Santa immediately asked, "Why should it be only my job?" The elves could not give a good reason. Santa now makes sure that at meetings he models and gives the elves different ways to show their appreciation to one of their peers. Everyone in the workshop has now accepted the notion that recognition is everyone's job. Santa now believes that one of the most important characteristics of effective leadership is an attitude of gratitude. There are more leadership secrets that Santa shared, but the ones covered here were the most important for any leader. And let's sum them up very quickly. 1, develop a vision for yourself and your organization. 2, focus on your people as well as on your purpose. 3, help everyone accept the reality of change. 4, hire the right people and for the right reasons. 5, let values be your guide. 6, listen to your staff. And last, but probably most important, as Santa said, share the milk and cookies. If you follow the 7 leadership secrets of Santa Claus, you will become successful. You will have the nose for leadership. Thank you, and congratulations.